apologies. I wasn't expecting you.
Oh, it's okay, Jari. Don't worry about it. How are things? Wife and kid doing all right?
Well, they're still very dead after you killed them. Remember?
Yes. Well, in my defense, your daughter did look at me weird.
Yeah, she was a kid. Kids do that.
Yes, well, speaking of kids, there's someone here I'd like you to meet. This is Reva. She's an Inquisitor in training, and I've taken some...
She's on a cell phone.
I sense big things in her future. Big, violent things.
Cool. Very cool.
Reva, say hello to Jari.
Hi, Jerry.
It's Jari.
Whatever.
Okay, Reva, can you put away the data bank for a few minutes? This is pretty important.
The data bank.
Reva has reached a very important milestone in her journey down the dark side. It is time for her to get her very own lightsaber. There is no one I trust more to help with this than my good buddy Jari.
Wow. Such a privilege. Overwhelming.
Alright, last night we set up and upgraded the reactor. We upgraded this year.
No, make it double bladed.
Now, sweetie, you haven't been trained for a saber like that. Double-bladed sabers are extremely badass.
Are you saying I can't handle it?
No, of course not. You can handle anything you put your mind to, my dear. And you heard the little lady. Make it a double.
Alright, all special.
Ew, no, that's way too long. I want it half the size.
Half the size? I don't even know if I can go through points in a case that small.
I said half the size.
Oh, she's been working on the ventilation. Make some pop-up cloud.
Alright. Half the size. It'll work somehow.
And put a circle around it.
Yes. Very smart added hand protection. Trust me, I know a thing or two about losing it.
It would have.
Blade spin.
Well now, honey, that's where your arms come in. You know the saber can't do everything.
No, I want the blade to move so fast the saber will lift me off the ground.
Sorry, what?
You heard me. I said I want my saber blade to move so fast I can fly around like a helicopter.
Look, Reva, you know I love you as much as any Sith Lord can love a subordinate / surrogate daughter. Design is done with this nicely. Really dumb. The lightsaber is an energy tool in your arsenal. An extension of your power. You're trying to make this an overused, flashy piece of nonsense that looks like it was designed by a gunman driven long on death sticks. Frankly, I'm disappointed. Not mad, just disappointed. Simply questioning whether you really are committed to the task of exterminating the Jedi and imposing the Emperor's will on the galaxy.
I'm sorry, my lord. It was never my intention to disappoint you. It's just, I thought that if I had a saber that could fly, it would give me a tactical advantage. Because then I always have the high ground.
It's you, Anakin! I have the high ground!
Yes, I knew.
High ground. Give this girl everything she wants.
What?
In fact, I want the saber to be the new standard for all Sith Inquisitors.
Jeez, that's a pretty tall order, boss. I'm not even sure the laws of physics are gonna allow this. I don't know if I can...
How about you just try your best? Right, Jari?
I hate my life. My apologies.
No, I want my saber blade. Sorry.
That sounds like a joke. COVID-19, some people get it, and some people can get it bad. And for those who do, because they have
Too bad we can't cure for stupidity because a lot of my generation seems to have a problem with it. Those people, I'm talking about the people that think that it's okay to stick their finger into an electrical socket for internet clout. I'm not talking like the people that like are normal in my generation. Look at me! I'm harming myself for internet attention! Look at me, I'm special! You're not special. Am I right? Why use it? Why? Yeah, you heard him. I'll be back. I'm thirsty AF, and I'm a little bit hungry. I'm gonna go get myself a snack. While I wait for my to finish. Man, you know what? This plastic could be really used. Oh, I bet you if I gave this plastic can to the Kardashians, it'd be empty by an hour. Right, well, it's cool how he split it in half.
Simultaneous reasons why Vader never drew upon his own lightsaber. When the Grand Inquisitor showed up at the end, it was clear that he and Vader had been conspiring against Reva for quite some time. It is possible that the GI had been warning Vader, and that he was aware of the deception of the Third Sister for a long time, and the Dark Lord heeded the advice of his second-in-command and understood to be wary. It is probable to believe that the Grand Inquisitor's only request out of this whole process was that he would get the pleasure of watching Reva die. As we know, Reva was aboard Vader's Star Destroyer as they were over the world of Jabin, which means the Grand Inquisitor were on board, then she would have likely sensed him. Vader was probably stalling so that the Grand Inquisitor could get to the world himself, having to travel separately. However, the other answer to this question is far more likely. Vader had trained the Inquisitors himself and did not hold back in constantly showing his superiority over them, as this was how he maintained a healthy level of fear and respect among his ranks. The Inquisitors probably had to be kept under tighter reins than the other Imperial agents, simply because of the fact that they were Force-sensitive and had the talents and training as a Jedi. Many dissension among their ranks were detrimental, so Vader needed to ensure that they didn't get any bright ideas of joining together to overthrow him, even though, of course, this likely wouldn't have worked either. Of course, even if they did join against him,
Vader is far too powerful for any of them, as he truly knows the secrets and power of the dark side that only Sith are at liberty to know. When Reva charged him with her lightsaber, Vader didn't even bother drawing things, but rather waved her lightsaber and her body away using the Force, tossing Reva around like she was nothing, only using his gifts in the dark side. This was a show of power over Reva. Vader did not require grabbing his own lightsaber and using it on this underling. She did not deserve it. Darth Vader wanted to show Reva just how outclassed she truly was, and he intended to reveal to her how much of a mistake she had just made. Yes, he could have ended her easily, but what was better, slaying her where she stood in a matter of 3 strikes, or drawing out the fight, letting her expend every bit of her energy she possibly could, helplessly swinging away at the Dark Lord, and slowly realizing that she was hopelessly and humorously outmatched in every single way. Just to show how little of a threat she was to him, he took her lightsaber from her.
Please stay. Please. Wait, are you my blind date?
And even tossed her back a portion of her own weapon, and used part of her weapon to so effortlessly defeat her, and then deliver the final blows. The revelation that Vader knew who she truly was, that she was a survived youngling, the reveal that the Grand Inquisitor was still alive, and of course, a double stab to the abdomen, same as before, just to remind her that she is truly nothing more than the youngling that survived. It was grandiose, disrespectful, fully in line with Darth Vader. Despite this, one question still remains. Why does it seem that Reva is so weak in regards to other Force wielders? Those who know about Force users' power know about something called a Force Shield, a passive ability that the user generates, which is essentially an invisible bubble and shield around themselves that protects them from Force-based attacks. This is how many experienced Force users don't have their lightsabers taken from them in battle, beyond the point of Vader trying to prove his point against Reva, that he did not need a lightsaber of his own to defeat her. It highlights exactly more the progression of Anakin Skywalker, showcasing that he does not desire to smash through his enemy anymore, and that now he has learned, and victory has not defeated him. However, Vader does not miss this moment to prove his full superiority. Back to the idea of Force shields in the heat of a lightsaber duel, however, why Reva does not use them. If a powerful Force wielder is able to dominate another opponent's shield, they can breach it and do as they please. Several times in the series, we have seen Reva's Force shield broken like it was wet paper, and had many other Force users dominating her in many ways. The Grand Inquisitor stopped her blade from striking their target, and tossed her aside in the first episode. Later, the fifth brother held her in stasis for a long period of time. Vader, though, of course is an exception of this because of his immense power. It's clear here that Reva is out for revenge. As such, she is definitely using the dark side, and although her intentions were most likely just getting revenge on Anakin for killing her friends, her ideology is misguided. She wants to slay Vader so that she can have vengeance, and stop him from killing more families. Yet, she walks around being just as ruthless to innocents as any of the Inquisitors of the Imperial era. She's in conflict with herself. Despite the egregious actions, there is a part of Reva that wants to exact revenge. It is this conflict, coupled with her inexperience and only receiving training as a youngling, that has caused her to become weakened in the Force, and therefore she is able to be bested by other Inquisitors. Again though, why does this matter for anyone who is familiar with the Force, and the dark side especially? If you do not give yourself over to the dark side completely, and you remain in turmoil, you will become very weak. Darth Bane was one of the most powerful Sith to ever live, and yet there was a time that inner conflict caused him to lose his connection to the Force for a short amount of time, and he was nearly powerless until he discovered his resolve yet again. Besides this though, let's take a look at exactly what point Reva was taken in by the Inquisitors. The Grand Inquisitor claimed that she was the least of them. While this simply could have been a condescending insult to be sure, he may not be entirely off the mark. The Inquisitor training was not like the Jedi nor the Sith. They were not trained to pursue a deeper meaning in the Force. They were simply bred to kill. All of the other Inquisitors that we know of, or at least most of them, were Padawans, Knights, and even Masters. However, when they found Reva, she was still at the experience level of a youngling, regardless of what age she was found. The closest things we get to this in canon are the survivals of Cal Kestis and Kanan Jarrus. However, they were able to retain a level of experience and power regardless of how old they got, because of much more training.
Alright, huh.
Who was simply a youngling. These were Jedi Padawans who had Jedi Masters, and Reva never However, he had this luxury, going briefly back to Vader, and his decision not to use a lightsaber against Reva actually directly mirrors the actions of his own master Sidious. Sidious believed that Jedi lightsabers and Sith lightsabers alike were playthings, and that he himself had grown beyond the use of them, and that he was simply too powerful to require using a lightsaber ever again. However, he did keep one on hand in case things got dicey, or at least when he wanted to insult the Jedi. This is something very similar happening here with Vader. He feels that he is so beyond Reva, which he is correct, that he does not require a lightsaber in order to defeat her. However, again, this is Anakin Skywalker, an individual obsessed with furthering his prowess in the blade, and therefore, he decided to defeat Reva on two fronts. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this important decision, why Vader not using his lightsaber was so incredibly impactful to Star Wars lore and Vader as a character? What did you think of Obi-Wan Episode 5? And are you excited for the finale? As always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.
I'm gonna say,
I'm getting vaccinated.
spoiler alert.
20.
So am I, because I'm...
What happened to him? I don't understand.
No, it doesn't seem complicated. I am the Inquisitor.
This is one of the most disturbing things Star Wars has done in a long time. What's up, guys, and welcome back to The Stupendous Wave. The Empire's treatment of its individual citizens was often a cruel and blatant violation of their civil rights and the nature of human decency, as well as the Force itself. When it came to hunting Jedi, and Force sensitives in particular, this treatment was especially heinous, as Vader and his Inquisitors sought to hunt down and annihilate any remaining Jedi Knights from the previous order. Often, civilians got caught in the crossfire, and the ruthless Inquisitors would do anything in their power to find the Jedi. But what happened to the Force sensitives that they took rather than killed? What happened to prisoners of the Empire that were Jedi? Well, stick with us today, students of the Force, and let's cover them. Spoilers ahead for Kenobi Episode 4. Today, we will be covering...
Yeah, this revelation was so weird.
First specifically relates to the scene in the latest episode in Kenobi, where Obi-Wan seems to come across the tombs and preservation chambers of former Jedi Knights. This is what the Empire did with former members of the Jedi Order that the Empire found, and the second is what the Empire did with Force-sensitive children that they found who had no former connection to the Jedi. We will be covering both topics here as they are both very relevant. First, let's cover these tombs from Obi-Wan Episode 4. These tombs shows us the likes of the Elder Master Terrace Nube, among other known Force sensitives, including other members of the Jedi Council. There is also an encased youngling, complete with the very same attire and training helmet that he would have worn in the Jedi Temple during his courses, indicating that he has been dead and imprisoned here for nearly the entire decade and reign of the Empire. So why is this, and what is the darker purpose? What does the Inquisitor have in mind when they keep these Force-sensitive corpses and corpses of the Jedi? The answer
It is a
relates to
weird
the storyline that we've already seen. In the first season of Star Wars Rebels, Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger refers to this seasoned Jedi Master and Council member Luminara Unduli is actually still alive following the events of the Great Jedi Purge and is currently in hiding. They come to learn that she survived Order 66 and is currently being pursued by the Empire, leading them to launch a rescue mission. Kanan does so as he believes that Ezra deserves a greater master than himself, believing Luminara to be the perfect teacher for the young fledgling Jedi. The two of them eventually track Luminara's whereabouts to an Imperial prison on the Stygian Prime. This is known as the Spire, which is important to note is a separate location from Fortress Inquisitorius that we see in Obi-Wan. The two Jedi are able to to track her down through the Force and fall into a trap set by the Inquisitors in order to lure in more Force-sensitive individuals and former Jedi Knights that have survived this long. It seems as if this is the same basis for what the Empire is doing here with these tombs. These individuals likely still retain their presence in the Force as long as their bodies are preserved, and we know this due to the science of how the Force itself works. So why exactly is this? And why do they still maintain their presence in the Force long after their death?
How many wonder how many people they have entombed.
And has actually been known to linger in various locations beyond simply just people. For example, where Emperor Palpatine died in the Death Star lingers a strong Force presence of the dark side. And not only this, but when Luke Skywalker eventually ventures to Naboo, he can actually sense the darkness where Darth Maul was cut in half by a Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, as the very presence of the Force lingers there. So, it makes sense that a Force signature would linger within an individual even after their passing. In the Phantom Menace, it is explained that midichlorians act as channels for the Force and allow a user to tap into their latent Force potential. These midichlorians reside within all living cells, and if the Empire is able to preserve their bodies, then they might be able to keep some of these cells alive for much longer, even after death. Therefore, other Force sensitives might still be able to feel these individuals within the fabric of the Force, much like how Kanan and Ezra are able to track down Luminara in Rebels, as Kanan actually does sense her presence within the Force, and doesn't realize that Luminara has been long dead until it's too late. Since various Force-sensitive bodies have now been shown in Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's likely that this is the fate of all of them, and although they do serve as a sort of trophy, as we know agents of the dark side, including Vader and Sidious, are very high on trophies in keeping them from some of the most powerful Jedi that they have slain, it is likely that the preservation of their bodies has a much more sinister purpose, and that all of the Inquisitors display the same tactic that we see the Grand Inquisitor use in Star Wars Rebels. For example, say a Jedi Master lost their youngling during the events of Order 66, or any powerful Jedi senses a youngling's presence in the Force. They will then go to seek them out, which allows the Inquisitors ample time to prepare for the arrival of said Jedi. It's like the Grand Inquisitor says in one of my favorite scenes in the Kenobi series so far, that a Jedi cannot help but do the right thing, but at the same time, this is why the Inquisitors are so easily able to exploit this aspect of the Jedi code, the simple fact that they cannot help it. If a Jedi again sensed the presence of an old friend, an old master, or a youngling, they would instantly go to their aid, similarly to the events of Order 37. Order 37, which we detailed yesterday, is the idea of the clone troopers rounding up innocent civilians of a given populace and murdering them systematically in order to draw the attention of the Jedi, forcing that Jedi to act. This is the same thing, and is in fact one of the darkest aspects of in Star Wars in a very long time. This also gave the Inquisitors a distinct advantage, as it allowed them to prepare for any given Jedi Master.
You used all my Old Spice body wash.
She did it.
Oh crap.
COVID-19, some people get it, and some people can get it bad. And for those who do get it bad, it may be because
they were able to sense their presence in the Force, and if they were able to predict which of the Jedi was sensing these younglings or fallen Jedi Masters. Earlier in the series, we saw how quickly the young Jedi sought out Obi-Wan Kenobi, and how he went there nearly immediately to the planet of Tatooine in order to seek his guidance. The same thing likely happened dozens, if not hundreds of times following Order 66. Why I think this aspect of Star Wars lore is so important to the overall story is in many ways, this is the final stage of the Great Jedi Purge, and the final trap that the Sith and the Inquisitors laid out for the Jedi survivors. This is the final stage, even if the Jedi managed to escape the Great Jedi Purge, and have been in hiding for nearly 10 years, and as of the point of Rebels, nearly 15 years, you can still use the Force signatures of these other fallen Jedi to draw them out of hiding, and this is an aspect of Star Wars lore that I'm glad was revisited.
Aww.
And we now know that the scope of this great plan by the Sith is even broader than we originally thought, as it is no longer just Luminara unduly, but if the Inquisitors can preserve as many Jedi bodies as possible, then they likely can draw out far, far more Jedi. The reason in Star Wars Rebels Luminara unduly was selected was because the Grand Inquisitor knew that Kanan had a small connection to her, and knew that she was a powerful Jedi Master, and the same thing likely happened time and time again. But anyway, students of the Force, what are your thoughts on this terrifying aspect of Star Wars lore?
That is pretty eerie. The question is how many of them are there?
master, not to mention innocent Jedi youngling. Stay tuned later on the channel as we're going to attempt to identify as many of these fallen Jedi as possible, as well as discuss in a later video what the Empire did with Force-sensitive children. That is perhaps an even worse fate than the Jedi. So if you're interested in either of
My shepherd is getting salty right now. Boom. 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 Oh god, I think I can hear my puppy sprinting in circles. You could actually, instead of using medium soil canisters, you could actually use these. However, that's the exact same, and well, of course, these canisters are more efficient at storing.
this video, be sure to subscribe. As always,
I'll watch some more World According to Briggs. 10 mayors that went to prison. Yes, I love that. I put that on everything.
That sleazy used car salesman category for most of us. The mayors on this list help reinforce that vibe. Today we're looking at 10 mayors that got locked up. Now I'm sure we've missed some because hundreds of mayors have been arrested over the history of the United States, and some other ones we've talked about on other videos. Like Kwame Kilpatrick from Detroit, Michigan, who in 2013 was given 28 years in prison for racketeering, extortion, bribery, and fraud.
Sheesh.
There's one we missed that should be on this
Thank
list,
God.
and we'll make another one.
Homebro literally committed that many crimes.
States that the honest local government is the foundation of any nation to provide its citizen with security, prosperity, and happiness. But as we all know, not every mayor takes that to heart. It's not just mayors, even though that's the focus of this list. Over the past 4 decades, the FBI has arrested thousands of elected officials who use their position to enrich themselves. Today we're looking at mayors that were arrested and eventually did some time. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Armstrong, Iowa. I thought we'd start with a smaller city on this one. It's actually a town, technically, but they call themselves a city.
Yeah, I go to Eureka, Illinois, and they call themselves a city, and they have 5,000 people. I mean, Eureka, Illinois is a really good place. If you want to be near Peoria, but you don't like Peoria, it is a good place. Eureka's got 5,000 people, and they got their own schools. Like, they got pre-K, elementary, middle, high, and college. It's actually where one of our presidents went to college at. Eureka, Illinois also has their own hospital and a few of the restaurants. I bet what's it called? Eureka would be almost completely perfect if it had a McDonald's and an interstate. Eureka, I haven't really heard. What's going on? I haven't heard that there's a lot of crime in there. What is the crime rate in Illinois? I have never. It is 75% more higher. It's more than. It's not as. It's called. That's actually. It's actually not high. Not awfully high. It's like okay.
Just under 900 residents. So in this little sleepy Iowa town, Mayor Craig Baum, Police Chief Craig Merrill, and a couple former city clerks all got busted for a boatload of things. Misappropriating city funds, filing fraudulent public records. One of them tased a civilian in exchange for cash. They're charged with falsification of ledgers to conceal embezzlement. The unusual city government behavior in this small city stretches back years. This was a 5-year investigation. One of the police officers involved is charged with sexual extortion.
Wow.
This is a great Iowa town. Now, I'd like
That's
to give you
great.
the amount of time-
You know, having one of the higher ups charged of that BS. Yeah, that's how you know you're gonna get screwed over. No pun intended.
Of 2021, so the case is still ongoing. Now, depending on the charges, he could spend up to 20 years in prison. I saw different reports that he could spend up to 10, he could spend up to 20, it could be more, who knows. But he's gonna
He deserves 30 plus.
The strange thing about this, I just gave you a quick overview. There's also officials from nearby towns that are involved in this, and it's not looking good for Armstrong, Iowa. Number 9, Baltimore, Maryland. On 25th of April 2019, FBI agents raided the home of Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh after she was placed under federal investigation over the sale of thousands of children's books written and self-published by her to organizations that conducted business with the city. Basically, if you wanted a contract done, you had to buy her book, and a whole bunch of them. But
What?
agents raided the home of Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh after she was placed under federal investigation over the sale of thousands of children's books written and self-published by her to organizations that conducted business with the city. Basically, if you wanted a contract done, you had to buy her book, and a whole bunch of them.
What?
But charges stem from the Healthy Holly book series. Sounds nice enough until you find out that people were forced to buy this book. Here's the rub, they all didn't get their books. So they were forced to give up the money to buy books they didn't want, and then they didn't even get the books they didn't want. One of the worst offenses...
That is so
clients at the
rigged.
University of Maryland Medical Systems had to buy 20,000 copies of her 3-book series for $100,000 each. So about $300,000 in cash. The books were then donated to the Baltimore Public Schools. She was eventually sentenced in February of 2020 to 3 years in prison following her conviction on fraud and tax evasion charges. She served her sentence in the federal...
You know how mad it makes me when there's somebody in the government that doesn't pay tax? Like, we pay tax, now you get... Now, we're gonna drag you under the bus, too.
$12,000 in restitution and forfeit nearly $670,000, including some property she owned, along with $17,800 from her political committee. Times in Baltimore. Number 8, Reading, Pennsylvania, or Reading if you want to irritate the locals. Yeah, they hate it when you spell Reading. I mean, it's spelled Reading, but it's pronounced Reading. Reading, Pennsylvania has some problems.
Reading.
Horrible housing, and their schools aren't really ranked that high. And top of all that, they had a mayor that was shady at best. In April of 2019, Mayor Vaughn Spencer was sentenced to 8 years in prison for bribery and conspiracy charges. There was a lot of charges up against him, like trading city contracts and campaign contributions from companies in exchange for lucrative municipal engineering contracts. Yeah, you had to give his campaign money or you weren't getting the contract. He was also convicted of attempting to bribe former city council president Francisco Acosta in order to try and get an anti-pay-to-play ordinance repealed in Reading, the 5th largest city in Pennsylvania. He agreed to give Acosta's wife a contribution for her campaign in a judge race if the ordinance was abolished. The ex-council president was previously sentenced to 2 years in prison for taking that bribe. They kept the ordinance in place. This helped sink the mayor's vote. He got off easy. Federal prosecutors wanted to give him 10 to 12 years in prison. Instead, this 71-year-old ex-mayor and ex-teacher, yeah, he was a teacher for 37 years, he was sentenced to 8 years and also also 3 years supervised release afterwards, and he had paid $35,000 in fines.
With Columbia at Pulse, you'll find high-quality gear or wherever life takes you. Made for outside. Made for adventure.
God, I hate when mayors are
Number
corrupt.
7, New Orleans, Louisiana. Ray Nagin served
not
as
surprised.
the mayor of New Orleans from 2000 to
Louisiana's got
2010.
some corrupt
He was
people.
the mayor when Hurricane Katrina hit. He became sort of the face of the city after Katrina. Now, he was extremely popular mayor, and he had support from both sides of the aisle. I saw one person describe him as the golden boy of Louisiana politics. But in 2009, allegations began to emerge of him using his office to obtain benefits from local companies supplying the city. In February 2014, the courts agreed Ray Nagin was convicted of bribery and extortion. They found that he took more than $500,000 in payouts from businesses in exchange for millions of dollars worth city contracts. Now, New Orleans and pretty much all of Louisiana has a long history of political corruption. Nagin was the first mayor to be criminally charged for corruption in office. Prosecutors asked that the court send Nagin to prison for the long ride. He was found guilty of 20 of the 21 counts he was indicted for, and that he participated in and orchestrated a year-long conspiracy to enrich himself and his family and cover up his crimes. On July 9th, 2014, Nagin was sentenced to 10 years in prison and almost $600,000 in restitution and forfeitures. Nagin reported to the Federal Correctional Institution, Texarkana, on September 8, 2014 to start serving his extended vacation. He was scheduled to get out of prison on May 25, 2013, but the COVID pandemic kind of started spreading around the prison, and they decided to put him on house arrest on April 27, 2020. It's too bad. I remember when he was the mayor during the whole Katrina thing, and, you know, I don't know, you just kind of liked him. He was very charismatic, and he seemed very passionate about the city and the people. By now, he was actually more passionate about filling his bank account. Number 6, Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, Alabama gets in the mix today with Birmingham. Birmingham's not the greatest city Alabama has to offer. Actually, it's one of the worst.
It's actually been called Bombingham because the amount of African Americans that have been bombed there is so sad.
Was sentenced to 15 years in prison for his role in a bribery scheme during his tenure as the president of the Jefferson County Commission. Prosecutors said that Langford sent more than $7 million in county bond business to Bill Blount's investment banking firm. Langford in turn received $235,000 in cash, jewelry, clothing from Blount via Alabama Democratic lobbyist Al LaPierre. So there was a couple people involved in this. You know, it just baffles me that they continue to get caught doing the same stuff. It's like everyone thinks they're the smartest person in the room, they'll never get caught. They always seem to get caught. At the trial, the two turned on the mayor, LaPierre and Blount, pled guilty and took a deal, and they basically snitched on the mayor. I guess they never heard the term, snitches get stitches. They each took a 4-year ride, while the mayor got 15. Now, this all went down in 2008, and the trial ended in late October 2009. He was supposed to spend his 15 years in jail, but on April 27, 2015, Langford was transported to a prison hospital due to a case of pneumonia. Langford was first rejected for a compassion release after describing himself as terminally ill. But on December 28, 2018, a federal judge reduced Langford's sentence for corruption to time served. He was granted a compassion release from prison in December of 2018 due to failing health. Langford died on January 8, 2019. He was 72.
Should be tuned.
Number 5, Jersey City, New Jersey. What would a list about corruption and bad politicians and bribery be without having New Jersey on the list? It would be weird not to have them on this list. Good news, this is one of 2 planned New Jersey cities that we're going to talk about. Thomas J. Wayland was an Irish-American mayor who served from 1963 to 1971. He was born and raised in Jersey City. He was a hometown boy that became mayor. He was also in World War II as a pilot, and he flew 63 missions. Sounds like a nice story so far, right? In 1971, during his second term, Wayland was indicted by the U.S. Attorney's Office as a member of the Hudson 8 and was convicted in federal court on conspiracy of extortion and a multi-million-dollar political kickback kickback scheme connected to the city and county contracts. He was arrested alongside a former mayor, a couple city council people, and he picked up a 15-year term, which he only served 7 of. Federal authorities didn't want to give this man parole because they said he still had $1 million of public money that had never been recovered. The IRS also calculated that he owed $1.2 million in income taxes on kickbacks that he had received, along with the other ones. He died at a nursing home in Naples, Florida at the age of 80 in 2002. Number 4, Atlantic City, New Jersey. That's right, Atlantic City gets a twofer. Michael J. Matthews was elected the city's mayor in 1982 and served until 1984. Not a long run, but this is an interesting story. He admitted to taking a $10,000 bribe from someone he thought was a representative of a janitorial company, but was actually a federal agent. Now, he was a state assembly person for a while. He was Atlantic City's commissioner of revenue for a while, so he was very much entrenched in New Jersey government. He was also entrenched in the New Jersey mob. Federal authorities confronted Mr. Matthews with a tape of evidence against him, and it was pretty clear-cut. Well, this is where it turned into a Sopranos episode. They offered him a deal if he would wear a wire and basically spy on the mob. He refused, and he was indicted. He was also convicted and got 20 years. Number 3, Progreso, Texas. Yep, down in Texas, they're doing the same stuff everyone else does. Not a place. Progreso is just a small border town on the outskirts of McAllen, Texas, between McAllen and Brownsville, right there on the border. And it only has about 6,000 residents. And a few of them like to take money that didn't belong to them. This all started when the federal government gave a $1 million grant to the city to help fix their
that's a lot of hydrazine.
Consider for a contract to get some of that $1 million, you had to pay the mayor and some of his friends some money. In politics, this is called a bribe, or it's called pay to play. Mayor Omar Bella.
Yeah, I know bribing is like almost like saying, hey, let's say like I committed a crime and I paid you, the viewer, and said, hey, I'm gonna pay you, let's say, $5,000, you keep your mouth shut, and you get your money. And that's basically what bribing is. It's really scummy, dirty, and just disgusting. I hate bribers.
2004 to 2013, he got 10 years for bribery and corruption. He did face 20 years. He was sent to prison finally in 2014, and he's still there. Number 2, Compton, California. Walter R. Tucker III served as Compton's mayor from 1991 to 1992, and he was convicted by a federal jury of extorting $30,000 in bribes and cheating on his income tax while serving as the mayor. Now, what's weird is it took a while for the jury to convict him. 9 days of deliberation, but they found him guilty on 7 counts of violating the Federal Hobbs Act, which bars public officials from taking money in exchange for their votes. He was also convicted of failing to pay income tax on bribe payments he received during those years. Now that's strange. Can't they just lump that in with your normal charge? Because who's going to claim bribes that they got? Doesn't that send a red flag to someone if you're claiming bribes? At his sentencing, he suggested that he might start a prison ministry if he has to serve the time behind bars. Suddenly he found religion. I always like that. People that find religion when they've done something horrible, or when they get off drugs. I found those friends kind of strange. When they get off drugs, all of a sudden they're trying to do I think it was Robin Williams said, don't share the drugs with me. You didn't want to share the drugs with me. What's going on here? But typical of a good California politician, he took the stand in his own defense, and Tucker denies any wrongdoing and protested that he was a victim of entrapment by an overzealous government informant. He said the $20,000 he received was for advice he gave.
More like, let me guess, is that what people say when they get caught in 4K?
$10,000 was a personal interest-free loan. What's wrong with that? He was the mayor during some of the worst times of Compton, California. That place was the freaking Wild West back then. Is Compton perfect now? Absolutely not. Is it better than it was in the early 90s? Yes. According to the government, Tucker made his first bribe solicitation on May 30th, 1991, just a couple weeks after he was sworn in as mayor. Guess he didn't want to waste any time learning the ropes.
All right.
Before we get to number 1, don't forget to
Chicago.
give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you
I'm
haven't.
surprised for
We also have
Chicago.
another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. And number 1, Martin, Kentucky. Ruth Robinson, the former mayor of Martin, Kentucky, was sentenced to 90 months in prison. Yeah, she got the long ride for a variety of charges that included vote buying, identity theft, and fraud. With the vote buying thing, she had some co-conspirators. Her husband, James Red Robinson, and her son, James. These two threatened and intimidated residents of Martin in a run-up to the 2012 election in which Robinson was seeking re-election. These ass clowns targeted residents that were living on public assistance and on properties that the Robinsons owned. Didn't sign already filled out absentee ballots. They also actually gave money to disabled people to vote for Ruth. In the end,
That is actually kind of messed up.
40 months in prison. His son James was sentenced to 31 months in prison. At the time, this town had maybe 600 residents. I mean, it's dropping in population. In 2020, they only had 513, and right now they think they only have 400 people living in this town. So they didn't have to be rich to buy a bunch of votes in this town. I'm looking at the poverty levels they got in this town. I'm thinking the rate for a vote back then was probably about $4. It's a cute-looking town, though. All right,
Let's do some math. So it's a 3-to-4 ratio. So if I send up 6 astronium, they'll send me down 2 cans of hydrazine. So 400 divided by 3, which is about 113. So we're going to take 113. 113 times 2. Oh, 4. So that's 113 times 4. And if you trade up 4, so it's called an astronium, a full tank should yield you about. Man, a full tank of astronium will yield you about 18 medium soil canisters of hydrazine. That's a lot of hydrazine. I really could. 10 worst towns in the United States 5 months ago. Give me some more of that purple stuff.
Want to buy some real estate in a town that doesn't suck? Me too. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to World According to Briggs. Let's take a look at something we haven't done in a while. The worst towns in the United States. We did this video back in 2017, and I figure it's time for an update. Things have changed. Some towns have gotten better, some decent towns have gotten worse, and Alaska's slowly becoming the new Mississippi. Shockingly, Mississippi didn't make the list this year. If we would have done 25, they would have had the 25.
I wonder how many people exploit this for getting TNT.
Cities are slowly falling out of fashion. More and more people are looking outside the cities and the suburbs to build their life, buy their homes, whatever they want to do. I mean, honestly, you don't have to. Why would you live in bumper-to-bumper traffic, worry about your safety both in and outside the house, or watch your Ring doorbell cam while somebody steals your Amazon? These are things nobody really needs in their life. Today we're looking at towns you shouldn't move to because they're horrible. It's that simple. And just to save the comments, let me explain what is considered a town and a city in the U.S. according to the U.S. Census and pretty much most people. A city's population has over 100,000 people. Large towns have a population between 50,000 and 99,000. Medium towns have a population between 25,000 and 49,000. Small towns have a population of 7,500 to 24,000. Villages and small communities are less than 7,500 residents. Now I know that goes against what most people.
Well, Illinois would have a ton of villages.
Maybe has 1,000 people. No, it doesn't matter if they call themselves a city. If they are below that population, technically they're a town. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Selma, Alabama. Selma, Alabama is a historical city, especially when you start looking at the civil rights movement. They're also losing population.
Oh yeah, right. The Selma Bridge riot.
In 2010, they had almost 22,000 residents, and in 2020, they had just under 18,000 residents. Selma, Alabama had been gaining population since its creation up until the 1970 census. 1960 was the last year. 1970, they started losing down in 2000. They actually gained 1%, but then they went back to losing population. I think it's also worth noting that California, North Carolina, Indiana, Iowa, Oregon, and Virginia all have Selmas, and they all suck. Here's an idea. Don't name anything else other than a goldfish, Selma. Selma, Alabama has a crime rate that's 61% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 97% above the national average. They're not knocking it out of the park with wages, and their poverty's pretty high. Their per capita income is $15,288. The average for Alabama is $24,736. In comparison to the rest of the United States, which the states are different, so you gotta kind of compare a city to a state, not the national average, because the cost of living differ and all that other stuff. But the average income per capita in the United States is $29,829 currently. So in Selma, Alabama, they're averaging about half the national average. Number 9, Americus, Georgia. Americus is a town in Georgia of around 15,000 residents, about an hour southeast of Columbus, Georgia, and about a generation away from being a great place to live. Affordable housing is great. Cheap housing isn't always great. That's a theory I have. When it's too cheap, you're safe to assume that there's a reason for that, and most of the time it's because the locals know the place and don't want to live there and have moved away. Americus is the poster child for that theory. Most of the homes for sale right now in Americus are under $100,000, with I'd say majority of them being under $90,000. Americus has some great history and a lot of crime. Their crime rate here is 168% above the national average, and their violent crime rate is 188% above the national average. Now their poverty is kind of a big thing.
If you like living
neutral
health. Whoa.
The national average is about $29,829, so roughly this is pretty close to half. But when you compare it to Georgia, they look a little bit better because Georgia's average income per capita is $26,678. Now, one thing I will say about this place is it's starting to look like there's a little bit of revitalization going on, so I'm not sure how much longer Americus will be on a list like this. They might be turning it around, but we'll see. 10 years, 20 years, something. Number 8, Globe, Arizona. Globe, Arizona sits about an hour and a half east of Phoenix, Arizona, and if you're a snowbird, think about, maybe Arizona's the place for you. It might be. Globe isn't, but the rest of Arizona just might be. Globe isn't too far away from a small town called Miami. Don't let it fool you. It's nothing like the other Miami. Miami, Florida is filled with good-looking people on the beach. Miami, Arizona is filled with a lot of people that don't floss. But Globe is in the Arizona outback, in the hills east of Phoenix. I saw a video where a guy was talking about the crime rate in the area, and the dude being interviewed said that the crime was so high because of the open borders, and people are coming across the border to commit crimes in Globe. The interviewer guy says, "We're 3 hours away from the border," and the guy looks at him puzzled and goes, "Really? It seems closer." But the crime rate in Globe is 254% higher than the national average. Buckle up for this one. Their violent crime is 393% higher than the national average. Their income per capita is $21,528. The Arizona average is $26,686. So that's not the worst on this list. The good news is there's not much to do up there, so you don't have a lot of opportunity to spend what little money you make. Number 7, Bishopville, South Carolina. Bishopville sits about an hour east of Columbia, South Carolina, and about 30 minutes west of Darlington in case you're into NASCAR. Head out to Darlington and watch a race. And if you do, don't forget your Confederate flag t-shirt. That's
Wait, Ian. Oh, almost done. Yay, more hydrazine. I'm so glad they added trading, because now I can get stupid loads of hydrazine. I definitely have a can of it already. Like a full can, it's just all diverse. We have 3 empty cans.
Outerwear in this part of South Carolina, along with trucker habits, says that you can pick up pull a finger. Bishopville is a nice little town that has a lot of potential. It's also got a lot of poverty, a lot of crime. Their crime rate is 201% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 247% above the national average. When it comes to the income per capita, in Bishopville it sits at $13,422, which compared to South Carolina's average, which is $25,521. So Bishopville, they're less than half the national average of $29,829. That's pretty bad. The good news is it's dirt cheap to live here, and housing's very inexpensive. Number 6, Lake City, South Carolina. Yes, we're staying in South Carolina for another gem of the South. Lake City is a town of almost 6,400 residents that's losing population. Now, they've only had 2 censuses in their history where they lost population, so that kind of tells me it hasn't always been in bad shape. Normally, when you see a town that has a sliding population, like 4 censuses in a row, censuses or cents. Anyway, moving on. When you see them slide like that, decade after decade, you know the place has sucked for a very long time. Lake City really seems kind of new to
It's
the
done.
places to avoid type list. Right now, they have a crime rate that's 157% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 345% above the national average. Their income per capita, it's not great, $17,910. Just like we said earlier, the South Carolina average is $25,521. So they're not doing great. The good news is they sit about an hour northwest of Myrtle Beach, so they've got something to do, but they're really depressed about how much money they make.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wonder what they do with the Astronium. They use it. I'm gonna guess that they use it for research and rewarding you for mining them. They just send down, you know, things that you want them to trade with you.
And that Cheerios energy from whole grains to help keep the whole family going. Cheerios Oat Crunch Almond, also available in cinnamon and oats and honey. Keep crunching.
Number 5, Barstow, California. Have you ever heard the phrase, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade? Well, if you have to move to Barstow, it's more like when life gives you lemons in Barstow, they're probably toxic, so you should drop them and move someplace else. Barstow's been a warp on the backside of California since it was founded. I'm sure when the paperwork came to turn this place into a town or whatever, it came across some state officials' desk. The first words out of his mouth or her mouth was, why? Barstow sits about 2 hours east of Los Angeles and about 2 hours west of Las Vegas, and it's usually the place you stop and eat when you're driving to Las Vegas. Normally when you do that, you go to one of the 2 Del Tacos they got there at McDonald's. Don't try and pee at Denny's without being a customer. They got a lock on the door, at least they used to. Barstow does have a wiener schnitzel, so it's not all bad. Barstow's really not a good place to move to, really. It's kind of like Denny's. You never plan on going to Denny's, you just end up there when you're inebriated. Barstow's the same way. Barstow also has a crime rate that's 122% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 285% higher than the national average. The income per capita here, now keep in mind this is California, things are more expensive, so this money really sucks. Their average income per capita is $16,897. That's California's average is $31,450.
Yeah, that's filling these cans up pretty fast.
California's average. If you ever look at pictures of someone's backyard and Barstow, it's often confused with the surface of Mars, so keep that in mind. Number 4, Bastrop, Louisiana. Bastrop,
Louisiana has such a bad rep.
Shreveport in between despair and regret. This is a great place to be from, as in the past, as in past tense. Nobody should live here unless they enjoy fishing and crime scene photography. This isn't a great place to live, but it does have a Popeye, so you know it's legit. The population of Bastrop is about 10,000 residents, which is down from 12,000 in the last census. So they don't have a lot of people, but they do have a lot of crime and poverty.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Send. We are hoarding so much ammonium. Got it. Hydrazine. This is not ammonium. This is not astronium. Well, that's where my argon was. It was up here. Well, come down from there, bro. It's almost full. Can I fill these tanks with what I have left? I doubt it. These tanks right here need filled. These ones are almost topped off. So roughly about 2/3 of it is filled right now.
On average, Louisiana average is $25,515. The poverty level here is actually 178% higher than the national average. That's Salem, New Jersey. New Jersey made the list and didn't Salem is about 30 minutes south of Wilmington, Delaware, across the Delaware River, and about an hour and 20 minutes northwest of Atlantic City. It's also only 35 minutes away from the Palace.
Some of them are full, some of them are not.
Here it is. Look, Salem has been losing population since the 1950s.
4 of them are full.
When they peaked at 9,000. You know things aren't great when you realize you peaked before Elvis started making music. Yeah, Salem's seen better days. Now, one thing I do like is they have a lot of really cool old brick buildings. Most have bars on the windows, but that should be expected when you see the crime rate. The crime rate here is 132% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 431% above the national average. Now here's where it gets really good. The income per capita here is $18,626. That's the average. The New Jersey average is $37,538. Yeah, that's brutal. And New Jersey is above the national average, and they kind of have to be because New Jersey is expensive.
Let's see, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I love New Jersey's thing. It's like, we kind of suck, but we're going to charge you like we don't.
1, 2, 3.
And it's very true about New Jersey.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them are completely full. There's 4 of them that are not full.
Number 2, Benton Harbor, Michigan. I know a lot of you are thinking that Michigan has gone over their quota for places that suck. I mean, you have a lot of places in
Detroit.
Michigan that truly do suck. Detroit, Flint, and now Benton Harbor. What's really bad about Benton Harbor, it's really close to some really nice places. Benton Harbor just is horrible. Benton Harbor sits on Lake Michigan, about an hour and 45 minutes away from Chicago. It's about 98 miles, probably 70 if you're a good swimmer. It also sits about 45 minutes north of South Bend, Indiana. You go down there and watch the Fighting Irish. Benton Harbor's one of those places in Michigan, and really, it's happened in a lot of these states where they have so many abandoned homes that they've actually just mowed them down. It saves people from vandalizing them, and in Detroit's case, a lot of people are just setting them on fire, and homeless were moving into them. So a lot of these towns have just chosen to mow them down. They bulldoze these homes that have been abandoned over the years. They even got a bunch still that are just boarded up, and they haven't got around to mowing them down yet. It's really sad. I kind of, I know I make fun of these places and stuff like that, but the history of the lost manufacturing jobs in this part of the country is just really depressing. And it's something that, I don't know what you can do. I'm not an economist or anything like that, but it just seems like there should be serious efforts to bring back our auto industry at whatever they can do. It just seems very important.
No kidding. We used to be a titan, now we depend upon other countries to do our work.
Higher than the national average. And buckle up for this one. Their violent crime rate is 723% above the national average. That is freaking brutal. Their income per capita is $10,980. How do you survive on that? I don't mean to laugh, but Michigan's average is $27,549.
A year? How do you survive on that? People deserve to get paid more way than that.
Number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. Also, as far as this channel
That's a lot of fuel. Nome?
Joke that says, I told him to kiss me where the sun doesn't shine, so he drove me to Nome, Alaska. You can't drive to Nome, Alaska. It's next to impossible. This one is so far up there, it's one of those towns where night lasts like 6 months. Yeah, it's that high up there in Alaska. Nome sits on the Bering Sea. It's about an hour-and-a-half flight from Anchorage. You can't drive anywhere from here. I mean, there is a road that goes up to Teller, Alaska, but why would you want to drive there? There's nothing there. I can't imagine why anyone would want to live in Nome, Alaska. Do you like just snow all the time? Maybe you're into dog sled racing or something. I did it on ends here. When you see the stats on here, you really start to think why would someone live here? Now, this is the absolute worst I've ever seen for a violent crime rate. So here we go. Their overall crime rate is 158% above the national average.
Yeah, it is close to getting topped off, but it ain't topped off.
Percent above the national average. What are they playing, the Hunger Games here? This is alarming. Since the 1920s,
We have
they've only had one census where they lost
almost
population. That was in
10
when they went from 2,357 to 2,301. Yeah, but they've gained.
We almost have 12
if you're an Inuit person and
units.
This is your culture, your people's land.
12 12 full
Why
medium
anyone
things.
else would, it's beyond me. They gotta be paid pretty good, but from what I can see, they aren't, unless they don't add up people working in town for some kind of, I don't know what they do there, oil, minerals, or whatever. But their income per capita here is $29,000.
That's a lot of fuel. If I stopped fuel production, I could survive. If I was just non-stop, if I was carrying cargo loads back and forth, I could probably survive for at least a month or two with hydrogen here.
The average income per capita for Alaska is $34,191. That's, yes, above the national average, but it is expensive to live in Alaska, especially
Plastic.
this far up. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, stay away from these towns, be nice to each other.
A new era of premium performance. Visit your New England.
Graphene, graphene, we love graphene, you love graphene, everybody loves graphene. Nom 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 nom, nom 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 nom. Nom 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 nom. $24 times 8, and that is 192. Oh my god. I'm just gonna start making a horde of graphene because I can. Best suburbs in the worst metro areas.
Looking for a suburb to call home? Want to buy some real estate or rent in a metro area? If so, keep watching. Today we're looking at some of the surprisingly best suburbs in the United States. The reason I say surprisingly is because these suburbs are in or near cities that wouldn't be considered the best the United States has to offer. And in a few cases, I'm being very kind with that description. These are diamonds in the rough. People have been fleeing the cities or the suburbs since after World War II. In the last few years, we've seen a shift away from both living downtown and the suburbs to small-town America. That doesn't mean the suburbs have lost their appeal to everyone. Some people, for whatever reason, still need to or just want to live near a metro area. If you're one of those people, this video's for you. And stay to the end of the video and let me know if any of these really surprised you. Today's list isn't in any particular order. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Clayton, Missouri. Clayton, Missouri has a population of just a little over 16,000, and their crime rate is 34% lower than the national average. St. Louis has some really rough areas with astronomically high crime rates. It's pretty good that Clayton's pulling it off 34% lower. If you want to buy a home here, homes start around $500,000 and go well up over $2 million.
Novus. It's actually pretty cool. Oh. Hey, look, it's a ball. I have a good chance of dying from what I'm about to do, but hopefully, so as I pull it off, it shouldn't go good, or it shouldn't go bad. Pink, okay, so this is the deep layer. I don't really venture down into other planets except for Siva. I don't know why, I like this to take the surface. So I think Siva is... Is this it? Oh, well... Does this place have Astronium? It doesn't look like it. So this is like the outer layer of Novus. Oh, it does. I guess it's really rare or something. Because look, that's a little bit. Stop. I mean, the core, like the outer core area is not as... Oh, there's the furnace. No, I'm taking that furnace. And there's 8 Astronium saved. mean, it's not as smooth as like Saiva's core. I mean, I'd have to work, not to get the entire core, which is a outer core of the planet down. I don't know if I'd want to get the entire thing down, because that'd suck. Oof. I will say the bites down here are pretty good. There's a bunch of them too. Another Astronium horde. It's hard to believe it. It's just you dig down like this and here it is. It's of course smaller. There we go, it lines up. If you actually don't know, every core soundtrack is actually different, and it's actually a remix of some of the other soundtrack you find on that planet. I don't know. So this It looks like it deletes all your stuff, and when you get out, it goes boop, all your stuff's back. Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's see the center alignment on this. Probably like that crater right there would be a really good place to dig. Deadly neighborhoods in the worst cities.
Play music.
Now, I could use explosions to breach down the surface, but I think I'd rather dig. I think that the crater rate that I'm liking is up there. Because it rotates, and there's that thing on the left, and there's this crater.
Even the worst cities any state has to offer has some nice neighborhoods, and some have some incredibly bad neighborhoods. West Los Angeles and East Los Angeles are a perfect example. West LA is mostly built with million-dollar homes with nice lawns, while East LA is a place with police tape on the lawns, and most people wouldn't live there if you offered them $1 million. A quick heads up on this video. Locals sometimes call these neighborhoods different things, and there's the actual name that the state has to have, so people not from the area want to look it up, they know where they're looking. They also like to argue that these places aren't as bad as other places are much worse. Everyone has an opinion on things like that, and that's why we use the stats provided by the FBI. Alright, let's take a look at the most dangerous neighborhoods in some of your cities. Number 10, Camden, New Jersey. Our old friend Camden. Camden is not a great place to live, but especially don't move to Ferry Avenue and South 8th Street. That's a neighborhood there that's not doing good things. We've got 4 neighborhoods in Camden that are equally as dangerous as the next. They all have very similar stats. It's like there's only so much suckage you can achieve in a place and not be allowed to go above that. But Ferry Avenue and 8th Street have it a little bit worse. On the map, it's called Centerville, so if you're looking for it, just look for Centerville. That's the area. Their crime rate is 89% higher than the national average, and their violent crime rate is 519% higher than the national average. Good God. The poverty rate in Camden, New Jersey is 154% higher than the national average. Don't live here. Number 9, Washington, D.C. The most violent and dangerous place you can move to in Washington, D.C. is Deanwood. Deanwood is in the eastern portion of D.C., right on the Maryland border. Honestly, it doesn't look terrible. A lot of their violence comes from domestic abuse calls, so it's not your stereotypical street violence going on here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of that. It's just one of the things that's driving their violent crime stat is the domestic abuse thing. Their crime rate is 259% higher than the national average, and their violent crime rate is 637% higher than the national average. Their poverty level isn't terrible. It's only 5% higher than the national average, but typical of an area with a boatload of domestic calls, the neighborhood's unemployment rate is 144% higher than the national average. That one's weird. You'd think with that high of an unemployment rate, they'd have a lot more working, have really good jobs or something. Number 8, Memphis, Tennessee. The most dangerous place to live in Memphis, Tennessee is downtown Memphis. Normally in cities with, all kinds of problems, it's not the downtown area that's terrible. There's a few that are like that, but most cities will keep the downtown area as, nice as they can. Memphis has their own agenda. Now, they do have some other areas that are down, I would say. Downtown Memphis doesn't look good. It's just not a lot of fun. The crime rate in downtown Memphis is 663% higher than the national average, and their violent crime rate is 709% higher than the national average. The poverty rate in downtown Memphis is 83% higher than the national average. Number 7, Chicago, Illinois. Most dangerous place to live currently in Chicago
Eagle?
is West Chicago.
Oh.
Statistically, Chicago is a worse city ever, and outlets portray the place as an open war zone. It's not. They have some neighborhoods like West Garfield that are crazy dangerous, but most of Chicago is really nice. They've led the country in murders a few times in the last handful of years, but with a population of 2.6 million in the city and just under 10 million in the metro area, their per capita is low, and normally they end up ranking somewhere around the 25th most dangerous city in the nation. So for murder rates, West Garfield, I guess, is trying to move Chicago into the top 10. They're tired of being 25th. They want to put out the effort and get them towards number 1. West Garfield, Chicago's crime rate is 396% higher than the national average, and their violent crime rate is 778% higher than the national average. The poverty rate in West Garfield, Chicago is 44% higher than the national average. Number 6, Little Rock, Arkansas. The most dangerous place to live in Little Rock, Arkansas is South End. Pine Bluff, which is another city in Arkansas, should be on this list, but really they don't have any bad neighborhoods. The whole place sucks, so it's hard to pick out one neighborhood, and they're a little bit small for this list. So in case you want to leave that comment, we're sticking with Little Rock. Little Rock has been dangerous since forever, and it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. South End is a horrible place to live or visit. Their crime rate is 248% higher than the national average, and their violent crime rate is 788% higher than the national average. Actually, Bernard. Moving on. The worst place to live in San Bernardino is Feldheim. San Bernardino is in the Southern California outback, and it's where Los Angeles sends all its smog. The city has a few okay neighborhoods, but a bunch that really suck. The king of the hill, when it comes to suckage, is Feldheim. This is a popular place to acquire hourly companionship and street pharmaceuticals. It's also a good place to get assaulted, and it shows. Their stats are horrible. The overall crime here is 234% higher than the national average. Violent crime is 811% above the national average. Now, oddly enough, their poverty level is like even with the national average, but the unemployment rate is 95% higher than the national average in Feldheim. Number 4, Baltimore, Maryland. The most dangerous place to live in Baltimore, Maryland is Hopkins Middle East. This isn't a great neighborhood. Matter of fact, if you look at it, it looks like a street scene movie set for a film about a city overrun by gangs, poverty, and residents that can't do minor home repairs. Almost like every house here is run down. I saw one guy on a YouTube channel trying to argue that this part of Baltimore really isn't that bad. The dude had a better chance of convincing people water is kind of dry. The overall crime in Hopkins Middle East is 340% above the national average, and their violent crime rate is 848% higher than the national average. Residents here enjoy a poverty level that is only 5% higher than the national average, but their unemployment rate is 85% higher than the national average. You have no reason to go here, unless you're a brave and desperate sales rep from Home Depot and you're looking to make some sales. Number 3, St. Louis, Missouri.
East St.
The
Louis.
most dangerous place to live in St. Louis is Peabody Darst Webb.
Oh.
This is not a great neighborhood, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. The stats on this place are incredibly bad. This neighborhood has some housing authority projects in here called Peabody, and whenever that happens, the neighborhood's not going to be good. But these ones don't look that bad. I mean, I've seen way worse projects than these ones. They really don't look that bad. But the crime rate is through the roof here. Let me give you the stats. The overall crime rate in Peabody Darst Webb is 420% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 1,129% above the national average. Congratulations, St. Louis, you really got it together here. This one is kind of bizarre because I couldn't really find how high the poverty level here was. I couldn't find it actually. Nobody did a survey on it or something. There's no stats that I could find, but their unemployment rate is 129% higher than the national average. Number 2, Kansas City, Missouri. Look at that. Missouri shows up twice in the top 5. Go big or go home, I guess. The most dangerous place to live in Kansas City, Missouri is a small little square called Marlboro Heights, Marlboro Pride, Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, this place is not good. I did see a news report where they were trying to say that the crime trends are going downward, the place is turning it around, and I don't know, that 2020 happened and everything went to hell. Because it's not really getting that much better. What's strange about this one is right across the Kansas border, like a 15-minute drive away, is one of the best suburbs in the United States, Overland Park. It's really not that far away. You'd think some of the positive stats would rub off on them, or the negative stats would rub off on Overland Park. No, it's like two different worlds on this one. Listen to these stats. The overall crime rate here is 498% above the national average, and the violent crime rate is 1,330% above the national average. That's not great. Poverty in this part of Kansas City, Missouri is 25% higher than the national average. Alright, before we get to number 1, don't forget we got another channel on this day. There's a link down below. And also, while you're at it, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give the video a big thumbs up. Alright, on to number 1. And number 1, Detroit, Michigan. The neighborhood in Detroit is Von Steuben. This little gem of real estate is northeast of downtown Detroit, and about a third of the homes here are now vacant lots. As people fled out of Detroit over the decades, they just abandoned their homes. Property values had dropped so much, it wasn't even worth trying to sell the place. It's not like people were buying up in these neighborhoods anyway, so it's like, what's the point? Just leave it. And they did. Nothing good goes on in an abandoned house, so the city decided to bulldoze tons of them. This solved a lot of problems Detroit was having, and that was people setting fire to abandoned homes. Yeah, that was a big thing for quite a while. But the crime has not gone away in Von Steuben. The 2,349% above the national average. This place is not a good place to live. Now, I say that from a statistic point of view. If you look at it, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, if you drive down the street, it looks like decent house, abandoned lot, boarded up windows. You have a couple more decent houses, abandoned, boarded up windows, that type of thing. So it's not all just totally bad in a war zone. They just got a lot of crime going on here. Their unemployment is a staggering 236% higher than the national average. That is brutal. I honestly think that's the highest number I've seen on unemployment rate. Oddly enough, their
That's awful.
level's only 5% higher than the national average. Not many people living here. I did read a police blog thing about this neighborhood while I was researching this, and there was a homeless man, I guess, that someone had tied to a telephone pole or something.
The
Nights in a row.
hell?
Same homeless man, same thing. They kept zip tying him to it, and then someone would call the police would come and let him off the telephone pole. Fun times and fun stupid. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Thanks for watching my videos. Have a great day.
10 worst neighborhoods in Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, I just want to get these bases right here done and over with.
You know, legend has it they drove cross country just to walk with their dog.
That's what they say.
What is going on, everyone? Well, let's talk about the worst places to live in Cleveland, Ohio. That's right, we are seeing what else sucks in Cleveland besides the Browns and the Indians' new name. Cleveland is a city on Lake Erie that has seen better times. In recent years, it's seen a little progress. But throughout the 90s and early 2000s, this place stank to high heaven. If you would have told your friends and family you were moving to Cleveland back then, they would have suggested that you get your affairs in order and maybe have one of those living wakes for you. Cleveland is in Ohio, and that should be your first clue that it has some problems. Ohio is a Rust Belt state, and rust is normally a word that is associated with success. Cleveland isn't all bad. It has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Christmas Story House where Ralphie met his kids. So, in this episode of Worst Neighborhoods, we look at what Cleveland has to offer in the suckage department. Two things to keep in mind about these lists. Crime isn't the only thing that makes a place bad. Schools and other things come into that equation. We also use the actual name of the neighborhood so people can find it on Google Maps if they're looking for it. Locals might call it something different, but we use the actual name. Alright, let's take a look. Number 10, South Broadway. South Broadway sounds like a really nice place to take your spouse out on a date, maybe see a show or something like that. That's not what goes on here. They have a couple things that really break down a neighborhood, train tracks, and an industrial area. They also have the Cuyahoga River on the neighborhood's border, but most of that land...
Is that the river that catches on fire every time that someone puts a match to it?
People probably don't do as much work there as they use the area to hide evidence. If you want to be the envy of all your friends, you could move here and get a house for under $100,000. You may not want to after I give you some of the stats, but this neighborhood has, I mean, most of their homes here, and there's probably like 30 for sale, are all under $100,000. Actually, I see two that are over $100,000, and it's like $150,000. So you could move here and buy a home that, in a lot of cases, are decent, and you just got to deal with some bad stats, like a really high crime rate. The cost of living in South Broadway is actually 17% lower than the national average, and housing is 74% lower than the national average. Their median home value is $47,000. I'm not even joking. I think it's one of the lowest I've ever seen. But here's where it gets bad. Their crime rate is 208% higher than the national average. The income per capita in this neighborhood is under $14,000 a year. That's 53% lower than the national average. Their quality of life score here is 59. Now, if you've never watched these videos before, anything over 80 is extremely good. 79 to, let's say, 69 is decent, and then 69 to 59 is getting pretty bad. When you get to like 58, you should move. Really, you should move, no matter what the cost. Just move. And their schools get a big giant F too. Not a great place to live. Number 9, St. Clair Superior. St. Clair Superior has two of the things that help with their suckage level: train tracks and industrial area. It's also on the lake.
Yeah.
don't have any beaches in this area, so don't plan on going there. They do have one nice park, but most of the waterfront property here is taken up by highway and industrial stuff. Some parts of this neighborhood is also known as Asia Town, and really, this is kind of like a artist part of town. You'll find like murals and art displays all around this neighborhood. It's not the best neighborhood, it is getting better, but their stats right now suck. This area only has a population of about 6,000 residents, with a total crime rate about 215% above the national average. Their violent crime rate, though, is 451% above the national average. This is another place where you could definitely get a house for under $100,000.
And get a boat.
Rent is around $600, so yeah, you could live here pretty cheap. This is another neighborhood that doesn't really have a bunch of people making a lot of money. I mean, like I said, it's got a lot of artists here, and the word starving artist just didn't pop out of nowhere. That's an earned name. St. Clair Superior has a quality of life score of 60. If you want to get a house for about $80,000 to $90,000, you can get a decent one in this neighborhood. If you want to get $50,000 and below and have to do some extra work, yeah, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some extra work, probably have to take some boards off the windows, and mow the lawn, trim back the trees, do some painting, maybe fix the plumbing. But you can have a house for about $50,000 in St. Clair Superior. Number 8, Union Miles Park. Union Miles Park has a population of almost 10,000 residents, and I'm sure most of them wish they lived someplace else. If they ever did move someplace else and wanted to feel at home, you know, they got a little homesick, they could just start a dumpster fire and they'd feel right at home. Union Miles Park is southeast of downtown Cleveland, in between there and Maple Heights. And like all respectable bad neighborhoods, they got some train tracks and some industrial areas. I will give this area one thing. I was looking at some of the homes that are for sale here, and they're nice. 82,000. We'll get you 4 bedrooms, 1 bath. That sucks. But 4 bedroom, 82,000. It is. Looks like the kitchen was redone. It's painted. It doesn't look like it's in bad shape, and there's a handful of these like that. It's just the stats are what's dragging this neighborhood down. The total crime rate is 228% above the national average. Violent crime rate is 474% above the national average. The median home value is $43,000, and rent goes for about $550 a month. If you want to live on the cheap and you're really not too concerned with crime stats, this is a solid option. These houses look decent for the most part, but that 474% above the national average violent crime rate kind of scares a lot of people. Quality of life score here is, and Union Miles Park is 58. Number 7, Fairfax. Seems like every city in the United States has a Fairfax. I mean, good size city.
Clinton, Stanton, Springfield.
Fairfax areas, or Fairfax neighborhood, whichever. Fairfax neighborhood in Cleveland is just a little east of downtown. Surprise, surprise, they got train tracks. Not much industrial.
Why does all of Cleveland have frickin' train tracks?
This neighborhood actually has several homes that go for over $300,000. They look nice, but they do have a handful here that are going for under $100,000. They got one decent one which is ready to go. Looks like it's $120,000. Probably have to do a little work, but it's 5 bedroom, 3 baths. That's not terrible. But if they've got any new construction, that means this neighborhood has the possibility of turning it around soon. Now's the time that you might want to buy some property for $50,000. Actually, $50,000. It's run down. It needs a lot of work. 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, $50,000. Actually, they reduced the price by $100 recently. It's now $49,900. If someone's on the fence on whether they should spend $50,000 on a house, lowering it $100, do you really think that's going to entice them to actually take that leap? What's sad about that house, the garage is actually in better shape than the house is. Fairfax has a population of about 4,500 residents. Their total crime rate is 241% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 496% above the national average. That is brutal. The median home value here is only $32,000, and rent will run you about $550. That's the median price. I'm sure someone's going to leave in the comment section. Anytime I mention rent, oh, it's like $900, like $700. I actually had one guy say I was off, and he was trying to say that no, rent in this area is $20 more than I was saying. It's like, dude, stop. The quality of life score for Fairfax and Cleveland is 58. Number 6, Woodland Hills. Hey, look at that. California has Woodland Hills too. Actually, the Los Angeles metro area does. I guess it's actually kind of on the outside of the metro area. But anyway, Southern California has a Woodland Hills too. The Woodland Hills in Cleveland is the exact opposite of the Woodland Hills in Southern California. You don't want to live in the one in Cleveland. in Southern California, there's a really nice neighborhood, like swimming pools, plastic surgery, and rich people. In Woodland Hills, Cleveland, you get overgrown
Shot.
lawns, bars on the windows, and less massive. Violent crime rate in Woodland Hills, Cleveland is 498% above the national average. Their total crime rate is only 242% above the national average. Good job there. Median home price here is only $29,000. Yeah. Realistically, though, right now they've got a couple that are for sale for under $100,000 that look livable, and then they got one that's like $160,000. This isn't a really big neighborhood. They don't have a lot of houses for sale right now. But if you want to move there, your best bet is the one for $160,000, 4-bedroom, 3 baths, and it's made of brick. Quality of life score here is 58.
It is our fate to play what is given to another.
Guides from the most dangerous seat in the world.
Number 5, Stockyards. That already sounds bad. Stockyards isn't the best neighborhood right now, but they do have some construction going on, so in the future they might be doing a little bit better. But right now, they got all the things that make a neighborhood suck. Vacant lots, industrial area, and train tracks. They've got a bunch of homes for sale here that are all under like $90,000, and they look livable, like you might have to do some work. Now, granted, I'm not going in and inspecting the plumbing and electrical and stuff like that, but just from the outside, and then you kind of poke around Zillow, these places look like they're almost livable right now. So maybe a little work, you can have a house for under $90,000 and have to suffer through Cleveland brown seasons and horrible winters. Oh, then of course there's the possibility of being assaulted like almost every single
And
day.
shot.
Their violent crime rate here is 501% above the national average. Their total crime rate is 243% above the national average. You got just a little over 7,000 people living here. Your stuff's not even safe here. It's like over 200% above the national average is property crime. The quality of life score in Stockyards is 59. Number 4, Central. Central just sounds like a neighborhood that the word Central should be followed up by lockup or something like that. Now, the weird thing about Central is they have some really nice parts that look decent. Lawns are maintained, houses are taken care of. The downside is they got some industrial, commercial areas that a lot of the crime happens there. And then, of course, they have the ever-present housing projects, along with some train tracks. The good news is they have a lot of newer houses being built here, so maybe in the future, things won't be that bad. This area sits just east of downtown Cleveland, so if you're looking for it on the map, it's right there. It's not too far from the Cuyahoga River, and it's got Fairfax to its east. The total crime in Central is 245% above the national average, and their violent crime rate is 504% above the national average. They say they got about 11,000 residents living here, but I also saw an estimate that it's closer to 14,000, so I don't know. They don't have hardly anything for sale here. It's mostly, like I said, houses that are decent that will probably go for about $80,000, but most of it is housing projects and rentals. They say the median rent here is $362,000. The quality of life score in Central is 58. Number 3, Kinsman. You know how I keep saying that if you got train tracks on bordering parts or near there? Well, Kinsman has it bad. Not only do they have train tracks bordering it on almost every single side, 3 of the 4 sides, and then they have 2 separate train track interchanges. You know, like different trains crossing over each other. This whole area is filled with tracks. They got some industrial areas and different. This place is a mess. In the middle, it almost looks like these people are captive. I talked to another YouTuber who's from Cleveland, Stephen B. Russell. He said his grandfather grew up there, and it's not a good place. How bad, you ask? Well, the median listing price here is $36,000. They have like a few homes that are under $40,000 that are for sale, but then they have a bunch that are foreclosed on and are up for bids. Okay, so these houses suck so bad, this neighborhood sucks so bad that nobody wants to spend $40,000 on one. They actually have to put it up for a bid, which means they're going to be lucky if they sell it for $30,000. Kinsman is a small neighborhood. It's on the east side of Cleveland, centered along Kinsman Road, and it's bordered to the south by Union Avenue and to the east by Kingsbury Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard. The RTA red line runs just to the north of this neighborhood. Their crime rate is 251% above the national average. Violent crime rate is 515% above the national average, and their quality of life score is a whopping 59. Number 2, North Broadway. This is another small neighborhood with just a little over 5,000 residents, and it is just to the west. of Kinsman. They're surrounded by nothing good. Tons of industrial areas, train tracks, public housing in the area.
Always the train
This is the
tracks.
only option. Get a backpack and move into the got a house for under $50,000. Throw $10,000 into this house, you're living like a king. If you survive. Violent crime rate here is 536% above the national average. The total crime rate is 264% above the national average. Like I said, median listing price here is $22,000, but probably $40,000 to $50,000 will get you something livable. Quality of life score in the North Broadway neighborhood of Cleveland. Alright, before we get to number one, don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comment section, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Alright, on to number one. And number one, Industrial Valley.
Oh, great. That sounds like a great place to live.
Just naming it Industrial Valley lowered your property value by 20%. Now, this one normally would have gotten skipped because it is about 90% just industrial. That's how it got the name Industrial Valley. It's like train tracks and rivers right there, industrial place. But they have people living here. There's a handful of houses that are in this horrible neighborhood. There's less than 100 houses and a couple apartment buildings. That's it. The total crime rate here is 291% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 584% above the national average. That is one of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, I know there's a place in Chicago, small neighborhood, where it's like 640% above, but this is pretty scary. The median home price here, they say, is $10,000. Realistically, they have a few that are going for $40,000, $42,000. That's about it. And they look livable. You can actually live in these ones. Sure, your next door neighbor is a giant industrial park, and you can see which way the wind's blowing by the coal dust that's in the air. But hey, you're getting a house for $40,000. Make sure you get bulletproof windows and bars on the windows, please. The quality of life score here in Industrial Valley is 54. Good job, Industrial Valley. Keeping it together. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, be nice to each other.
There's one. I will probably be back. I don't know.